today's topic is this frustration that I've been meeting very often recently with students who tell me that, so often I make it a point, I make it a project to really do something about my Norwegian. It's been taking so long and I really want to get this thing fixed, right? I need to get that B2, let's say, or I need to really get conversational. And what happens is that people have this idea, they decide, they make the decision, and they dive in. They maybe make a plan, even sometimes they don't. That might be part of the problem, but they sometimes even make a plan and then it doesn't happen because it happens for a month or two, but we all know this is not enough to get to the level we desire, for example, or to get really conversational. It might not be enough, it usually isn't, but then it fades away. And then they have to start the same project over when they realize that, okay, all right, I haven't been doing this for some time now, have I? Right? And they have to start over, but their Norwegian has decayed in the meantime. So they are starting from a similar starting point as before. So it's like a loop. This is really, really frustrating. I think many of us know this, not only with Norwegian, but with other things in our lives that we're trying to fix or change or finally get sorted. Very often this happens. And I think this is a bit of a hint that this is not exclusive for languages. It's not only your Norwegian, it's many of these other things too. And that's a little hint that there is something going on. It's about the habits and about the sustainability in general. There is not so much that's really specific for learning languages in this context. The only thing is that learning Norwegian, that is a big project. That's quite a lot of hours that we're talking about, so we need to be smart about it. So this thing is quite complex and we could be talking about it for hours. But as I promised, I want to be here for something like 20 minutes, not to keep you long. So I want to touch upon two things, basically. And that's the contents of what we are learning. So what we decide, what kind of materials we go for. That's one part of it. And there is the issue of sustainability. So what kind of plan we make and how we keep it, and also how we feel about keeping or not keeping it. So there is this thing about learning languages that we still have going on, and that we believe very often consciously or subconsciously, underlying belief that we need to have a textbook, we need to follow a textbook, and we very often believe this even if we hate textbooks. Now, if you like textbooks, then this is not controversial at all. You can work with a textbook and you can think, okay, I'll do these 3 units, for example. It's totally okay. But if you are the kind of person who doesn't like textbooks, and I know many students like that, then it would be a bad idea to actually use a textbook, right? Because this goes against your motivation. We need to like the material that we are working on to ensure maximum advantage of the material that we are actually learning, right? Because if we don't like it, we are not learning as much. That's a proven fact. So that's one thing. And it's about the motivation, because we're all about keeping it up, right? And sustaining it in the long run, not stopping the learning project after a month or maybe 2 months or maybe 2 weeks already. So we need to be doing something we like. And of course, it's not all roses, right? But it doesn't have to be the opposite either. So if you don't like those textbooks, don't use them. And as an alternative, I know many people like to have a system or keep things orderly and see their progression in front of their eyes, like how many things, how many units, how much material they have covered. And this is a good thing, it's motivational. So I would recommend, instead of going for a traditional textbook where you have the texts and you have the exercises and you have whatever, you can just buy a subscription for an electronic platform that will work for you instead of the textbook. it will supplement or it will offer the same thing in a more motivational way. So I like to use this platform called Basar, and it's best if you have guidance, but you can do it as a self-study thing as well. It works. You have texts and you have a lot of audio, and it's really good, and it's not so expensive. So this would be a very good alternative, in my view, to a textbook. More motivational and more sustainable for you as well, because you get immediate feedback. If you don't like something, you can choose something else. It's more about picking and choosing. It's not like you go from here to there. Because this thing about doing everything in the textbook, that's another thing, that's an illusion. It's not like if you do everything, all these texts in this order in this textbook, you will get where you need to be. This is not true. It's not any perfect sequence that is magically put together. Of course, it is thought through, and it is ordered in such a way that the things are easier to explain in that order, and they do build upon each other. But it's totally not necessary to do everything in a textbook or to go in that particular order, right? So that is an illusion. But if we don't like some parts of the textbook, then this keeps us from going on. Yeah, if we imagine that, okay, on Friday after work I planned these study sessions, and the unit in the textbook that's on now is like really, really dull, but you are hindered from skipping it because you feel like, if I don't do it, then I haven't done it, then it won't work. Relax, it will work. Or just drop the textbook, like I said, and instead do an online platform like that. The subscriptions are affordable, and even without guidance, you can achieve quite a lot just with a textbook. So that's one thing, the contents. Another thing is, you always need to be getting a lot of Norwegian input on the side. Of course, these textbooks and the platforms and all these learning and teaching mechanisms are Norwegian input as well. But you need to be getting something on top of that. And I would say this thing on top of that, that's actually the thing. And the textbook is on top of that, right? It's the other way around. You might have heard me say this. So you need a lot of Norwegian videos, audios, or maybe a book if you like books, maybe an easy reader, maybe go to the library and check the children's section. For toddlers and such, it's maybe not as good, but if you go to the young children section or the section for young teenagers, you might find something that you will understand at your level. Not everything, but you will understand enough to make it comprehensible. So that's a good option. So you need to be doing this. This is the most important thing you need to be doing, and it's more motivational. And then the textbook learning, that is the supplement. Yeah. So this is about the contents. And now, maybe even more important, even though that's difficult to say, these go hand in hand, is the sustainability issue, or the challenge with the plan itself, how to set up the plan so that you can actually keep it, so that it's not like 2 weeks like that and then, right? Or slowly down, 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 until you realize that you're not actually doing your thing anymore. But what is most important here is that it is difficult to build habits, and we need to make them small. But the thing is, if we plan, for example, a textbook session for every afternoon, we're not gonna do it. This is just a fact of life. You will get tired, things will be happening in your life as they inevitably are, and this is too much. And sometimes even planning a focused study session for every week can be too much. Sometimes it can be too much to plan half an hour of TV watching every night, right? So what we need to be focusing on in the long run is just showing up. If we just show up all the time and don't do anything else, we won't progress very, very fast. But if we want to push it, if we want the boost, we can set up a challenge. And it's very important to set up a challenge rather than believing that I can keep on going for many months in a row and learn and learn and learn and have these focused study sessions for a very long time. If I have a deadline for norskprøve or something like that pressing me, I might keep this up for many months. But if I'm not a language learning enthusiast and get my energy from this, then this is not going to work. And believing that, like now I will do it and jumping straight in and going for long stretches every week, believing that this will work is very often the root of the struggle as well. Because we think, okay, let me fix this. And we run, and we feel like this is a sprint. But learning a language, like many other things in life, is not a sprint, it's the kind of thing that is a marathon, isn't it? Because we need to have some pace and sustain it over time. But if we want to push ourselves and to get a boost, we can set up a challenge, and this is just perfect. If we set up a challenge for maybe a week and we say, okay, now let's really boost my listening. Let's do an hour of TV watching every evening. Now, this is quite a commitment for a busy life. If you're a student, you might sustain this, no problem. But if you are a student plus have a job, that might be difficult. If you have a family with small kids who crave your attention during the evenings and then you're exhausted, not gonna work. If you have a difficult job, you get home tired every day, it's not gonna work, right? But it might work for a week, right? Kids go away for a holiday. All right, let's set up a challenge. Or you have a freer time because you're changing jobs as a student. All right, set up a challenge there, right? Or you're done with your exams, you have relaxed for a week. Okay, let's set up a challenge. And it can be a week-long challenge, it can be a month-long challenge, right? You can even, for example, hire a teacher for a shorter period of time and say, okay, I'm gonna use this time to my absolute maximum benefit and really work hard and really do all the things and study and read and listen. And then you can slowly go back without feeling guilty about it, slowly get back to the more sustainable baseline. And the baseline is, as I said, showing up and maybe planning one day a week with half an hour or 15 minutes of one of these online platforms or an application or something like that. So, this is something very important to bear in mind, that we need both. I feel both the intensity and challenging ourselves and pushing and going fast and learning a lot and feeling the benefit of having boosted our abilities. But then we mustn't get tired and drop it entirely. So for that end, it's crucial that we have the time frame. We say this is for a month, or this is for the duration of the course. The course is so and so many weeks. I will really do my best. I will use it up. I will benefit. I have paid for this course. I will make the most out of it. But then you know that it will finish, and that doesn't mean you drop everything and start forgetting. That means you're going to do the sustainable baseline. And the sustainable baseline, there I feel we should always prefer the input over grammar or explicit vocabulary studies. I would listen and watch and maybe read a book at bedtime, and I would try to set up a session maybe every week for half an hour to gather vocabulary and put it in an application. And then when waiting for something, queuing in the shop, waiting for the bus, or there's a commercial on TV or something like that, just pull out your mobile and revise the vocabulary in your application. That I think is a sustainable baseline. And if you are wondering about some kind of grammar, check that out. But you don't have to be following a textbook all the time, or basically trying to be on a challenge your whole life, right? You cannot be on a challenge for 2 years in a row. So to sum it up, to repeat the most important points, in my view, this sustainability issue has two main components. That's the contents and that's the plan that we're following. And the contents, you need to pick things that you actually like because this really, really influences your motivation more than we like to think. And it also influences the learning and acquisition process itself. So we will achieve more success in less time with material that we like. So don't underestimate it. It's not cheating, finding something you like, it's actually following the principles of efficient language learning work. So that's the one thing. And the other thing is the plan. Don't mistake the sustainable baseline of your busy life for a challenge. But do set up challenges every now and then. You can have a challenge 1 week per month, for example, when you work hard and you know it's this week, and you pick the week so that it's not the most inconvenient week. Or do a 1 month challenge, maybe in January, or whenever it's convenient. So do this regularly, but don't mistake the challenge for the baseline. Talking about challenges and baselines and good times for a challenge, I can feel that June might be a really good time for a challenge because it's right before the summer. Most of us take these challenges at the beginning of the school year when everybody gets crazy about jumping on a course and I really have to do something about my Norwegian. I feel that before the summer might be a good time as well, because then we don't drop that much during the summer. July is a holiday month in Norway, nothing much is happening, and many people start dropping already in mid-May because they feel like, okay, so it's no point starting a course now because I'll forget everything in July anyways. And this is really bad because then we set up a new habit of not doing it. And we have an extra month of actually decaying. The Norwegian is decaying. So I think that June is a really good time to challenge yourself, to set up a challenge.